Good evening, everyone. My name is Jack Debe. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of the Avon Lake City Schools, and I would like to welcome you this evening. A couple of things before we get started. I'm asking if you are not a participant, if you could turn your video off and leave it off during the program. No, I'm kidding. That way, just for your privacy. So if you would please turn off your video if you are not one of our presenters this evening, that way you won't be shown on the YouTube. Throughout the evening, there'll be a lot of information covered. So if you have any particular questions as we go along, there's a chat feature in the Zoom. You can chat those questions to me and we will make sure they are answered during the Q&A. I would like to introduce the people that you see along the screen. I'll start out with our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Bob Scott. Our Treasurer, Autumn Reed.
Good evening.
Our Registrar, Teresa Martin. Director of Pupil Services, Dave Schindler. Our elementary principals, Nick Moore from Westview, Holly Weber from Redwood, Melissa Isley-Johns from Erie View, Jamie Franco from Eastview, Corey Tapes, our head nurse, Sue Cole is our Director of Transportation, Andrea Sokolov is our Food Services Director, and I would like to thank all of them for joining us this evening. Okay, I'm going to be sharing my screen. There's a PowerPoint that goes along with this, and so let me get that set up going. So welcome our incoming kindergarten class of 2035. I tell people all the time, I still remember when I was a good 15, 20 years on the other side of Prince's 1999 when that song came out. And here we are talking about the class of 2035. I just went through and did all of the introductions, but you'll hear from a lot of those people this evening. So for your information, kindergarten is mandatory in Ohio. Any child who'll be 5 years of age before August 1 is eligible. And we do have an opportunity for early entrance for someone who won't hit the age of 5 by August 1. To consider early entrance, you would talk to the principal of the neighborhood building. There is an extensive application process that goes through for early entrance. It's not typical that we would admit somebody early, but sometimes there is extenuating circumstances and there is testing and so forth that goes along with that. So I'm going to turn it over to Teresa.
Great, thanks, Jack. So my name is Teresa Martin. I am the District Registrar for Avon Lake City Schools, and welcome. I have to say this is one of the meetings that I miss being in person because the incoming class always brings this vitality and excitement, and so I'm going with you guys. Are all excited to be here because we have so many of you here, so thank you again for joining us. So I'm just going to review this slide first before we start clicking on any of the links for you. So our registration process is now done 100% online. All of the required registration documents can be uploaded into the portal itself. If you submit your child's record and you have not uploaded those documents, you can still send them to me, but you'll have to send them via email, fax, or you can send them via the postal service. Your child is not considered fully enrolled until all of those registration documents are received. So you'll get an email from me either way. If you submit the record, you'll get an email that says, I've received your record, but you owe me these forms. Or if you submit the record and everything's uploaded there, I check everything, everything's good, you're going to get a confirmation email that says your child is fully enrolled. And it's in that email that you'll find a lot of different links as well. So you want to make sure you pay attention to those links when you get that fully enrolled email, because there's information there on Safety Town about our calendars in there, contact information for the buildings and so forth. If you're with us tonight and you have a child currently enrolled in our LEAPS preschool program, you do not need to do this registration process. I consider your kids the base of our incoming class of 2035 because you're already in our system, you've registered them for our preschool program. So if we can click on the first link there, the avonlakeCityschools.org.
Okay.
Okay, so this takes you to my main page. So on this, you're going to see my contact information, where I'm located, my phone, my email, my fax. It's also on this main page that you're going to see the required registration documentation, the frequently asked questions. But for right now, we're going to start at that very first link because that's where you're going to do the registration for your incoming kindergartner. Okay, so on this page, you're going to get some more general information. Basically, like Jack said, your child must be 5 years of age by August 1st in order to register. Again, it mentions about the registration documentation that we do need to have that in order to have your child fully enrolled. We do prefer for you to upload that in the registration portal itself. That would be our #1 preference. If we go down to the bottom, you'll see kindergarten registration for the fall of 2022. That's where you're going to click to start that registration process. So when you're ready to do so, if you haven't already done it, that's where you're going to go. And it's going to ask you to create a PowerSchool enrollment account. If you already have one, you'll just log in and you'll add a student, and it'll ask you if you want to copy some information from another student you may already have registered with us, and that'll cut down on the time that you spend to register that child. So back to our main page. Yep. All right. We can click on the required registration documentation towards the bottom there. So every family owes us this documentation when you're first enrolling with a student with us for Avon Lake City Schools. I will tell you the birth certificate, the proofs of residency, if you can see the number 4 for your valid driver's license, and a completed immunization record is required from everyone. Okay, we need to make sure your proofs of residency that you pick one from that first proof listing and one from that second proof listing. And then dependent on how you answer the questions when you're registering your child, you may owe some of those other documents as well. But there is a upload tab when you're registering, and it'll tell you specifically what forms we expect to get from you. Okay, if we go back to our slide, and on the bottom, the frequently asked questions, we'll go into there. I get often, my driver's license doesn't have my current address, is that okay? It is. We don't need your Avon Lake address on there. We are using that for your photo and for your signature. The other one are the proofs of residency. I already have 5 kids in the district. Do you really need my proofs of residency again? We do. It is our board policy that we ensure that we have up-to-date, accurate proof of residency for every family that's joining us in the new year. A lot of other questions we get are on immunizations, kindergarten physicals, and on tuition for kindergarten, and that's going to be covered later on in the program with some of our other presenters, so I'll let them talk about those. So back to our slide. Okay, if we go down to the next page, it'll tell you about our online back-to-school forms. So every family who has a student in Avon Lake City Schools has a PowerSchool parent account. It's in that PowerSchool parent account that you're going to do our back to school forms every year. Everything that you give us during registration is going to be pre-populated for you. So basically, you're giving it another set of eyes. You're looking at it again, making sure all the digits in your phone number are correct. There's not a typo in your email. It's very important that the phone number and the emails obviously are correct, or else you're not going to get any correspondence from us. I tried to send out this email in early July. The link is going to be there for you. It will take you to your PowerSchool parent account. If you already have an account, your incoming kindergartner will be added to it. You'll see them at a tab up at the top. If you don't have an account yet, during the registration process, I do ask you to send me a username, and I do set that up for you. So in that email on back to school forms, it'll give you instructions on how to get into your PowerSchool parent account, and from there you'll be good to go. So again, you just review everything that's there. You're going to sign off on board policies, busing, transportation, all those types of things. It should really only take you 5 to 8 minutes, but we do ask that when you get that, if you can complete that as soon as possible. We do try to get all of this done well before the first day of school, especially in today's times with the health crisis that we face. There's information that's going to be coming out from our superintendent and our assistant superintendent and from the buildings themselves. And if we don't have your accurate information, that's not something that we could get to you. So that's all that I have for my portion. Back to you.
Thank you, Teresa. I will say, when you have questions about the registration process, about how all-day kindergarten works, Teresa Martin is an excellent contact in our district. So please don't hesitate to reach out to her or any of the rest of us. That's what we're here for, is to help answer those questions. My slide here is on kindergarten tuition. So for full day kindergarten, we do charge tuition of $2,400. Now, if you pay in full by August 15th, there's a 10% discount. So the tuition would go down to $2,160. We do also offer a payment plan, which is 10 monthly payments of $240. Those are due on the 15th of each of the following months. It would be August through May. You will receive a letter in the mail with your kindergartner student ID number, along with detailed information for the tuition payment. It's usually around the end of July, early August. We do a rollover process around that time of all of our students in our district. So we're not able to give a specific date at this time because that is connected to our ITC site that assists us with that. So the kindergarten fees will be approved at the May board meeting in 2022. We do keep that on the slide just in case there would be any changes. We have had $2,400 as our tuition amount I've been here 17 years, and it's been $2,400 for the majority of those years. So we have remained consistent with that amount. You do have an option to pay both by check or through payforit.net. That's a portal that is located on our website. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see that little logo that says payforit.net. You just click on that and create an account, but you are welcome to also pay by check. And I believe if you want to go on to the next slide, I believe that Andrea Sokolow, who is our food service supervisor, will talk a little bit about our food service program.
Andrea, if you want to go ahead and unmute. There you are.
All right. Welcome everybody to food service. Hopefully lunch is a happy time for your kiddos to get a little break from school. So this year the lunches were all free. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing next year. It's still in the works. So if we are not free, the lunch cost is $2.75. There is a My School account that you can create an account to add money to your student's account, your lunch account, and this would be through you could use a debit or credit, but if you prefer to use cash or check, you could always send that in with your kiddos and they can hand it to any cashier and it could be put straight onto their account that way. If you already have a My School account with other students, you could just add a student to that. So hope this year we did for half-day kindergarten, we were able to provide lunches for those kids in half-day. The kids that were in the afternoon, they would pick up a lunch and take it home with them for the next day, and the morning kids would pick up a lunch and take it home with them and eat it when they got home. The menus are available online. You would just click on departments and then food service, and there are tabs for the My School account and anything else that you would need to know for food service.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome.
There is a waiver available for free and reduced lunches. It's based on income. And so that information will also be available on our school district website. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Sue Cole, our transportation supervisor. And
Hi, everybody. So the routes are usually posted on the district's website about a week before school starts. Kindergartners, sometimes I hear all kindergartners get a bus stop at their house. That's not always true. It depends on where they live. We do not do cul-de-sacs, and if there's like a couple children on the same street that don't live too far from each other, we'll combine the stops. Kindergarten students should, they must have an adult at the bus stop. And they should be at the stop 5 minutes prior to their scheduled pickup time and stay on your resident side of the street. The bus driver will assign a place of safety for your student. And then there are times when students must cross the street. We try to avoid that, especially with the younger students. But the drivers will teach those kids how to cross the street, and they have hand signals they use, and parents should let that driver teach your child. A lot of the parents want to walk over, cross the street with them, and they're allowed to, but they also need to follow the bus driver's rules. And then kindergarten students are seated at the front of the bus so that the drivers can keep an eye on them. And grades K through 4 can only have one bus stop in the afternoon. So for example, if they do a daycare a couple days of the week and they want to go home 3 of the other days, you have to only pick one stop. So you'll be responsible for picking them up at the school the other days. In the morning, it's not as much of a concern, but in the afternoon, for sure, they can only have one bus stop. So, and we do bus to all of the commercial daycares that are located in Avon Lake, not outside of Avon Lake. That's a common question that we get. I think that's it for me.
great, thank you, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Corey.
Hi, I'm Corey Tapes. I'm one of the nurses in the district. I currently work at Eastview. Every building has a registered nurse assigned, and we review all of the paperwork, and you can reach out to us with any medical questions you may have regarding your child. We have the immunizations required listed here. We do want to have an updated immunization summary. So if you are in LEAPS, there is a chance we will need additional paperwork from you as well. So just keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, we understand that there are some families that elect not to immunize their children, and that's fine. We just have to have a waiver yearly that is signed by a parent, and we do this because it's a requirement of the Ohio Department of Health. So when you fill out your paperwork and you submit it to Teresa, the immunization summary and also the physical and dental are paperwork that will be required. If you have that and you want to go ahead and send it to us early, that is great, because nurses actually start going through everyone's files before the end of the school year. So that's very helpful. With that being said, the physical actually has to be dated within the last year. So for us, with school starting, it looks like that paperwork would have to be dated August 23rd of 21. And then if you want to go ahead and click that link for me, the when to keep your child home.
That one.
Perfect. So this year and last year obviously have looked much different with COVID. Prior to COVID, we did our very best to keep the children in the school. But with COVID, we now pretty much, if they are feeling ill, we ask that you keep them home or we will send them home. So on a normal year, these are the guidelines we follow. So if your child has a temperature over 100, or if they have any vomiting or diarrhea, those 3 things have to be cleared for 24 hours without any medication. We also ask that you would keep them home for any signs of drainage from the eyes, a rash, keep them home for a rash, or if they're seen by a doctor and cleared and okay for school, that would be fine. And any new onset cough that may interrupt, normal activity, keep them home until they're feeling better. In general, they're in kindergarten, and if they're not feeling well, they're not gonna be comfortable at school. So we can go ahead and go back to the original slide. As a reminder, if you take your child to the doctor, we would ask that you would remember to get a doctor's note, because that will help with attendance purposes. Any allergy or medication questions, you can reach out to myself or the nurse for your building. With that being said, we do have several students that require medication while at school, and we do have paperwork that is required. So if your child is on a prescription medication, that paperwork actually has to be filled out by a physician as well as the parent. And if your child keeps over-the-counter medication at school, that can be filled out by a parent, but we cannot give medication until we have that paperwork physically in our hands. And that paperwork can be found on the Avon Lake website. And you can find that the nurses page by going to the Avon Lake website. You can go to the district and then click health news under there. Let's see if it pops. Yep, there we are. That's all of our paperwork. If you scroll down, yep. A lot of times parents have a hard time finding that. So pretty much everything you need to know or have any questions, you can click there. We also have, if your child has a food allergy or needs a seizure action plan, you will find it on there as well. And like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of the nurses.
And for those of you that joined us late, if you do have questions as we go along, please chat them to me and we will cover questions at the end. I see there's about 7 or 8 that have already popped up. Thank you, Corey.
Sure.
Hi, I'm next. I am Melissa Isley-Johns. I'm the principal at Erie View. And speaking for all 4 of us principals from the elementary buildings, I want to welcome you to public education for your kindergartner to join us. And again, speaking for all 4 of us, I know we're really, really excited to have your kindergartner in our building. And a lot of this has already been covered. Corey just mentioned a little bit about the attendance policy, but we really, really want your children in school. And we want your children in school on time. All 4 elementary schools start at the same time. All of our teachers hit the road running from the very beginning, so it's really important that you are in school on time. If you need to miss school, these lists of reasons are up here as to what is an acceptable excused absence in Avon Lake City Schools. We do ask, though, that each building has their own attendance line, which is open 24 hours a day. We do ask that you call your child in prior to 9 o'clock in the morning, if at all possible, because we start taking attendance right away at 8:50, and we are responsible for reaching out to you if you do not reach out to us. As Corey said, if at all possible, to provide a doctor's note if your child is absent, if that is the reason that your child is absent, is really, really helpful for us. Jack, you can go to the next one. Some really important dates here. In mid-July, those back to school forms, we'd like you to start filling those out as soon as possible, as Mrs. Martin said. Watch for the email notification that will be sent to you. It's really important that you get those forms back in. The 4 of us will be posting our class rosters on the front doors of our building around mid-August. But those back to school forms must be completed in order for your child's name to be posted so they know who their classroom teacher is. August 23rd and 24th, really important dates. Students and parents, we have a welcome orientation. The last couple of years, that due to COVID, that's looked a little different, but we will be sending, the 4 of us will be sending out that information as we get closer to the start of school as to what those orientations will look like, but they will be on those days. And then the first day of school is August 25th. And again, we look forward to having you. We're excited. We're excited to have your kindergartner. So I will turn it back to you, Dr. Debe.
Great. I just want to comment on the dates on that. There is an outside chance we may be adjusting when the first day of school is. We have a district committee that's looking at our calendar right now for possibly a couple of minor changes as a result of what we've gone through with COVID the last couple of years and looking at how to best utilize our calendar. So there is an outside chance those days will change. And we would certainly have a lot of communication for you if in fact we do change the beginning of the year, but it would not be a huge change. We do several assessments, student assessments for students at various grade levels. In May, you'll have an appointment for your incoming kindergartner to get a screening. It does a couple things. It helps with a process called Child Find, which is federally mandated to see if there, by any chance, any developmental delays or any particular special services that your child may need. It also helps with classroom placement. So those are done by appointment in May, and typically we've done those at the library. We have another state assessment called the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment, and that takes place in the classroom. It's usually done during the month of September, and it measures academic and social, emotional skills. And then the other major testing that we use in the district is called MAP testing, and it's math and ELA. We do it 3 times a year, and they started in kindergarten and goes all the way up through beginning of high school. So those are the major assessments that we have during the year. There are some other reading and math assessments that are shorter benchmark assessments that you'll learn more about as we go through the process, but it's always nice to kind of have an idea when you start out what it is we look at to help determine where your child's at and help monitor their growth throughout the year.
Hi, like Dr. Debe said, that this May we'll be conducting our kindergarten screening. And for a little over 50 years, the state of Ohio has been requiring that school districts screen all incoming kindergartners. As it was stated, the primary purpose of this is to locate students who might have possible disabilities so we can get services in place for them. Avon Lake City Schools, we do use the kindergarten diagnostic instrument. So it does have some pre-academic and developmental readiness assessments in there that can help principals kind of look at kids and group them. One thing to know, and it'll come, you'll get a family report with that, is just to, if you have any questions on it, contact the principal. You can contact my office and we can help go through that with you. The appointments, you have to be registered to get an appointment to be screened. Kids who register, who come into our district, maybe they moved to Avon Lake over summer, they'll get screened in the fall when school starts. But appointment signups are going to be emailed out in March. They will come, the subject matter will be kindergarten screening, but it will come, it is a Sign Up Genius link. And so you'll be able to go on and you'll be able to pick your appointment day and time. They are going to be at the library this year. They're running for 2 weeks. They are the weeks of May 9th and the week of May 16th. It takes about 45 minutes. We have a group of Avon Lake personnel, usually a little bit over 10 people. Your child will visit a different person to look at a different skill. They're going to be assessed in vision, speech, fine motor, gross motor, and some basic kindergarten readiness skills. And so these are all Avon Lake staff. Our own kindergarten teachers will be there. It's a really nice way to start to meet our new students and get some eyes on them and be able to place them appropriately. Let's see here. Yeah, all of us, it does give us some valuable tools. Your child does get a score from it. It is a normed assessment, so it will be your score will be compared to a sample of kids throughout the entire United States. And we usually get the results back from those screens in June, and they'll be mailed out to you. So again, if you have any questions about kindergarten screening, you can contact the Department of Pupil Services. And then after we get the results, if you have continued questions, you can contact the building principal or my office, and we can help walk you through that.
Good evening. I am Nick Moore, the principal at Westview Elementary School. Welcome to Kindergarten Information Night. And if this is your first child coming to school, you're hearing a lot of information, so take it all in and definitely ask questions through the chat if you have some. Talking about kindergarten readiness, there's a big list here of things that we would love all kindergartners to know, but if they don't know them, that's what we're here to work on at school as well. But these are some things that you can work on at home from now before the start of kindergarten to get them best prepared. So there's a lot of things on here that I'm not necessarily going to go through all of them, but some of the really big key ones are, bathroom and personal hygiene skills, being able to zip up their jackets, things like that. Following directions of adults, very important in a classroom. It's different than preschool typically, where you might have 6 to 10 or 11 or 12 students with 1 or 2 adults, where we go to a classroom of a teacher, maybe 18, 19, 20 kindergarten students in there. So that's a big difference usually. Obviously knowing letter names, letter sounds, we're working on all those things, but any work you can do with that at home is very helpful as well. Something that you maybe didn't think about, but the ability to navigate with a mouse when you use a computer. Currently this year, all of our students have iPads, which is very intuitive. They'd like to touch and point and drag. That's great. But we will also have some time using computers a little bit. So if they can use a touch pad or a mouse, that's always very helpful. What else is on here that's very important? Their name, if you can have your kiddo recognize their name, write their name. Those are very important things, but we're also going to work on them. But the more they have exposure to that, that is very, very good for them to come to school with that. Like I said, I'm not going to read everything, but a lot of these things on here that you might want to go back through and look through would be very helpful for them to have as much knowledge and skill before they come to kindergarten. All right, next slide, sir. Thank you. All right, so when they come to school, full day kindergarten, obviously they're 8:50 to 3:20. Half day kindergarten, you're there half of that time, morning or afternoon. We have some specials that happen in all of the elementary buildings. So we have physical education, art, music, media, and then innovation. If your child is in one of the AM or PM kindergarten classes, they would receive each of these specials for art, music, media, gym for 30 minutes once a week. The innovation currently this year, they get that, I believe, for one time for 45 minutes, one time a week. If your child is in a full day kindergarten setting, though, they would get each of those other specials, gym, art, music, and media, for 60 minutes per full week of school. So they would get 30-minute sessions 2 different times. And then still the innovation is one 45-minute block. Pretty much everybody knows what the first 4 are, but the innovation is new this year. We've been adapting it over the past couple of years, and that is where we have a teacher working with students, coming up to do some creative thinking, some problem solving. It is a collaborative effort. This year it probably looks a little bit different than what we envisioned before COVID or previous to COVID, made some changes on how we might run our innovation classrooms. But ideally, we'd like to do a lot of collaborative work, problem solving. How can they think outside of the box to come up with some answers? Next slide, please. And then how to be informed about what's going on in the district or your building. We have a district website, which they've already highlighted a little bit this evening. There is Twitter that the Avon Lake Schools uses. I believe each building has their own Twitter account as well, that they will post things, messages and information and pictures and things like that. School Messenger is a program that our district uses. So Dr. Debe and Mr. Scott sends out messages to parents that way, but also each building will send out information via School Messenger. I know for Westview specifically, I send out a weekly email, and I believe the other ones do as well, just about what's coming up next week, any important things that you need to be aware of. Obviously today was a cold day, so I sent a School Messenger out last night, just as we're making sure everybody was informed about that. E-News, you can go to the district's webpage and subscribe to this. And when important information comes out from the district, it can get emailed to you. We have a Google Calendar. If you click on that, you'll notice that it is very active and filled with a lot of different things. And then each building has a set color on there for the different events. So if you scroll just a little bit, you'll see at the bottom how every name of the different buildings or the district calendar has a different color associated with that. So if you go to this and your building has different things listed, you would look for that color to know what's going on in your building a little bit. I'll go back to the slide. And then the last one is code red. And this is where it's important to have accurate phone numbers, because we will use this sometimes, like the other night, when Mr. Scott called off school for today due to the cold weather. The numbers that you have within there is how that gets populated. So we want to make sure that we have accurate information in there, so we can make sure that you're getting the information from the phone messages or from the emails. Every once in a while, a parent will get a new email and then maybe not update us, and then they quit getting our emails, and then we have to make some changes later on in the year, which is very important. So if you get things changed, please let us know so we can make those updates. And that's all that I have. Thank you for listening, and have a great night, everyone.
Right, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to talk about our Avon Lake PTA.
Hi, I'm Ashley Vickerell. I am the current president of the Avon Lake Early Childhood PTA. My oldest daughter actually is in kindergarten at Eastview this year, so I was in your shoes last year, and I know that all of this information seems a little bit daunting, but I promise they make it as the principals and Jack and Teresa make everything as seamless as possible. So I just wanted to talk about PTAs with all of you. I'm sure many of you probably do belong to the Early Childhood PTA already, but just in case you don't, we are actually not affiliated with any of the elementary schools for our own organization, and we serve families that have children newborn to 6 years old. We host over 200 events a year. They're held 7 days a week at varying times to try and accommodate all those nap schedules and school schedules for older siblings and things like that. We're also the organization that hosts the Kid Closet Sale that's very popular in our community. And we try and get involved in things like big trucks and stuff like that. We have all sorts of outings. There's play groups, there's children's outings, community service projects. We even do parents' night outs because we know that we all need those to stay sane sometimes. We have our general meetings on the second Monday of every month at 7 p.m. and those are usually in the gallery room at the Avon Lake Library. Sometimes we're sent to the Friends Room or the basement if the gallery room is not available. If you have any questions or interest in joining the Early Childhood PTA, feel free to email me. It's alecpta@yahoo.com, or you can visit our website for some more information.
Right, thanks, Ashley.
Of course. I think I have a couple more slides.
All right.
Being involved in the PTA at your school is a great way to get to know other parents, get involved with the schools, kind of be in the know of what's going on. And some great things that the PTAs do is every year, each of your PTAs has some sort of social gathering so that all of your kids can come and get to know, they get to see their friends, basically. I know Eastview has the ice cream social, which my children absolutely loved. They went to that ice cream truck about 4 different times, much to my dismay. And then there's always some sort of events throughout the year as well to keep the kids engaged and just create some fun things for the kids. So just keep an eye out on your zoned elementary school for what they offer. And I think I have one more. Being active in your PTA is a great way to build strong working relationships with teachers. It's also just a great way, like I said, to be in the know. You can join any of the PTAs by using the website on the Avon Lake City Schools website. I also recommend joining the Facebook group for your elementary school's PTA. I did that for the Eastview PTA this year, and I get all sorts of updates before the teachers send out any emails. So it's, like I said, it's just a great way to be involved, get in the know. And if you continue your PTA, for lack of a better word, career through their high school, then it's a great way for your children to earn some additional scholarships. Sometimes there are certain scholarships that are only awarded to students whose parents are in the PTA.
Great. All right, just as a reminder, if you have questions, you can chat them to me now. I'm actually going to stop my screen share and I'm going to start going through the questions. The email of updating information does come out in July. For LEAPS, how will we register for buses and Safety Town? Not sure if anyone, oh, Teresa, great.
Thanks. So for Safety Town, so an email was sent out to all of the parents who currently have LEAPS students with us. So check that email. There is a link there for Safety Town. So I can answer that portion for you. Sue Cole might be able to answer the other part on transportation. If you can't find that email, just give me a call and I will send that back to you again.
So normally we do give every student a bus stop. But if you do want to like use a commercial daycare or a private daycare, there's a form during registration that you would download and fill out and you can send that in. Just know that if you're doing a private, like grandma or grandpa is your daycare, they must live within your elementary zone to be bused to their house. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to use them for the daycare as far as busing.
All right, and Sue, you have a couple more questions right in a row here. Is Avon Primos part of the busing route?
No.
If a child
And I think Primrose does offer their own busing too.
Okay. If a child is normally bused from a daycare in the morning, is there the option to sometimes be picked up on the home route?
In the morning, yes, not in the afternoon.
Is everyone who applies for the full day kindergarten accepted to full day? As long as you register on time, you will get into the full day. If a building is full, you might be offered a spot at a different building. But this year we did not have to turn anyone away from full day. We actually created 2 additional sections, I believe, this year. Mr. Scott, is that correct?
That's correct.
To accommodate people. When will parents be notified if they get full day status? When you register, Teresa would let you know if the building that you're registering for is currently full, but we do keep track of that. Like when we added another section at Eastview, we were able to go back and then offer the parents who were temporarily reassigned somewhere else to go into Eastview.
And if you know somebody that hasn't registered yet for kindergarten, tell them to get in and register, because there is a time in the next couple of months where we have to set our staff. And unfortunately, one of the things with having 4 elementaries that are different sizes, we do at times have to close grade levels. And if somebody moves in or if somebody registers late, we'll have to offer them a different building. The good side of that is all our buildings are great. The hard part is it's not necessarily their home school. So if you know anybody who's here now, just tell them to register, get in so our numbers are right.
What is the earliest children can be dropped off in the morning? Any of the elementary principals want to jump in on that?
Well, it just depends, because they're not supposed to enter the building till 8:35, but they typically, I have safety patrol outside by like 8:15. But it's not a daycare, so we'll put it that way. It's not that your kid's coming into the building if you drop them off at 8 a.m.
So 8:35 is technically when they're allowed into the building. Okay,
Right.
Everybody's shaking their head. Students need to be in class by 8:50. And when will bus schedules go out, Sue?
They're usually on the school's website a week prior to the start of school. And I will add that there's a lot of information on my transportation page, and I try to keep it updated. And if you went on the school's website under departments, go to operations, and then you'll see transportation as well as food services.
Okay, the next question is about before care and after care. And I know we have the Champions program at Redwood and we have Boys and Girls Club at Westview. Do you know, not anymore? Well,
Not anymore.
So we have the Champions program currently at Redwood. I believe that is before and after school, correct, Holly?
That is correct. They do offer before and after school care both. And as long as it is a Avon Lake Elementary, they bus them. So Seuss brings the kids
Mhm.
the other buildings to Redwood for before and after school care.
But
Yeah.
this year we do not have after school programming for Boys and Girls Club. Not to say that it might not return next year, but this year we don't have it.
the attendance line is a voice line where you can leave a message. There is no text line right now. And if you need to email the school secretaries, principals, all their contact information is on each school's website. Can the rosters be posted or sent privately online instead of on doors? If you do not want your child's name posted on the door, we've had that request in the past, just let the principal know and they can make sure that they are not posted on the doors. What happens if you have unexcused absences? There is a state law called House Bill 410, which has different thresholds for the number of hours of unexcused absences. It starts out from getting a notice letter to working up towards an absence intervention plan. And then eventually, hopefully this doesn't happen. It's very rare at the elementary level, but involvement with the county's truancy program.
The key with absences, and I think everybody knows this, and depending whether this is your first child that's coming into school or not, it is important to be in school. We also know stuff comes up. And the 4 elementary principals here and the counselors that we have in the district, we work with parents every day. We know that kids get sick. We know that sometimes there's, accidents happen. We have kids that have appendicitis. We have things that we need to do. So we work with you. We do have instances, and everybody needs to know that we're going to be real aggressive. If we think that kids just aren't coming to school for any particular reason, then what Dr. Debe talked about ends up coming into play. But for the most part, we've got great parents that really work hard to get their kids to school and work with our staff to make sure their attendance is good. So the key is talk to your principals, talk to your counselors. And talk to the nurses because they're great.
Thanks.
I have already signed up my daughter for her screening. Should I expect another email? She's in the LEAPS program.
There is a preschool screening that happens. You probably have already done that, but if you've already signed up for screening, you should be good. And you can call pupil services. The phone number's on the website. Maria Zarek is the secretary that's organizing our screening. You can give a call. She's there 8:30 to 4:30 every day, and she is able to answer any of the questions. Or we do know that, so we have certain buildings that screen on certain days. Sometimes it doesn't work out with your schedule. She's the person that you'll be able to call, and she'll work through all those problems with you. We planned in some extra days. We have some leeway with that. So.
I'll also add on to that if I can. Maria does give a call the week before you're scheduled because it is such a far away from now, the screening itself. So she does make a call the week prior to remind you of your appointment.
If my child is a full-day kindergarten student and is a walker, can they walk home with an older sibling, or is it required an adult pick them up?
They can walk home with a sibling if that's what you tell us they're going to do.
What events would cause a code red? Mr. Scott?
Code red is our emergency system. So something like today where we had a cold day, we consider that an emergency, a calamity day, and we're going to use code red. If we've got a sudden closing of the building, last year on a cold day, we had the boilers go down at the high school in the middle of the night. So we use code red for that. The vast majority of your communication is going to come from your principals or from Jack and I, and that'll come through School Messenger. And then you can find all kinds of fun stuff on Twitter and Facebook and that. You will find if this is your first child, they love to hear my name on code red. So it really is only used for emergencies.
The school start and end time is 8:50 to 3:20. If we do change the calendar, when would we do that? No later than the March board meeting. So no later than the second week of March was the deadline we gave them. Can you request if you'd like morning or afternoon kindergarten? How do we do that? So if you do sign up for half day, this year we only had one morning class and one afternoon class. They were both at Redwood. We did not have half day at the other three buildings. As of now, that is our current plan. But the number that we've had in the half day program have dropped substantially each year. That would make sure that we actually have enough students for 2 half day classes. So that is dependent on that.
Again, it's that registration piece. I think the current numbers, Teresa, if I'm right, is we have 14 signed up for half day kindergarten right now.
For the incoming class of 2035?
For the incoming class?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So that, those half day classes are really based on the number of kids that we have. This year during the summer, it grew enough that we could have 2. There would be a possibility that we would only have 1 if there's less than 20 kids. That typically is in the AM. But if we go over that, then we offer 1 in the afternoon and 1 in the morning, and they are going to be at Redwood.
Next question, is it possible to start half day for the first semester, then switch to full day for the second semester? We haven't had that request before, but we would certainly look at that as an individual request. And again, based on numbers and the situation that,
And in the past year, that has actually happened, especially if the teachers and the principal and the parents get together and feel like academically it's the best place to go for kids, or if a parent's situation changes and they need them to come for the full day. But again, as Jack said, a lot of that could also have to do with, to stay in the school you're in right now, how many kids are in the full day kindergarten classes?
How many separate kindergarten classes are there at Eastview? This year there's 4. Again, that's dependent upon enrollment each year. I have a child that goes to Redwood right now. We are out of the Redwood zone though. Can I request that my kindergartner goes there also? Yes, you can. Will bus routes be similar to this year? Sue?
Yeah, they should be, they're pretty close every year, give or take some tweaking.
Are the students who attend Champions after school bus there from their school they attend?
Yes. Yeah.
Is there already sign up for screening? If you're not in LEAPS, I registered, but I didn't see the sign up.
So you'll receive an email to sign up. If you haven't gotten one already, it will come in early March, I believe, or before the end of March, you'll get that email.
Also a question on rostering, as opposed to being excluded, is there an online option to, as instead of having to go to the school physically? If you don't want to go to the school physically, there's 2 ways you would find out who your child's teacher. First is in Power School. When you log into Power School, that will list your child's teacher as well as all of their information. And if you're unable to get to the school to look at rosters, you could always call the secretary and ask the secretary at the school which teacher your child's in. Is the start date going to possibly be earlier or later than 8/25? I believe if it's going to change, I believe the discussion was it may be a day or two earlier. But I'm not sure that that's actually been decided. Where can the information be found on the before and after school care at Redwood? Mrs. Weber, do you know?
Champions has their own website. And basically everything is right there. Lauren is in charge of it for our region. And all the information and forms and everything are right on there, just Champions website.
Here's a question. We already registered for half day, but want to switch to full day. Contact Teresa Martin. She can help you with that. That's not an issue.
Teresa's like the magic person. She can do almost anything.
Right. And that was the half day kindergarten would be at Redwood is what our current plan is. And then also had a question. The handout that I screen shared during the meeting will be available on our website probably tomorrow. And I believe that's the end of the questions. Mr. Scott, our superintendent, do you have any words you'd like to say in closing?
I'd just like to say how excited we are about the class of 2035. We've got a great group of adults that are here, and they want to make every person that comes in and starts kindergarten, which is the start of a 13-year run with us, to be successful. There's really only one thing that really can be wrong, that if you've got a question, if you don't ask. Whether it's a principal, whether it's our nurses, whether it's, Teresa or Sue or Andrea, Ashley, they're going to bend over backwards to get you the information, and we're going to work to try to make every situation work. So we're excited about a new year. Contact people that you want. Go class of 2035. It's going to come quick.
All right. Thank you, everyone. That concludes our program this evening. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you as part of the Avon Lake City